Well, the future of flying vehicles may finally be here. What was once something you only saw in the movies, like Back to the Future, is now reality in Dubai, where they've successfully tested a flying taxi.
High above the Gulf, a new kind of race has begun. Not with noisy fighter jets or distant concept art, but with electric aircraft, landing hubs, and smart aerial corridors. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar are no longer talking about the future of flight. They are trying to build it before anyone else does. Number 8. Dubai opened the race. In February 2024, Dubai made one of the boldest moves in the entire advanced air mobility space. Joby Aviation signed an agreement with Dubai's Roads and Transport Authority that gave the company the exclusive right to operate air taxis in Dubai for 6 years, with commercial service targeted for early 2026. That single agreement changed the mood of the region. Until then, air taxis still felt like a futuristic idea being tested in different corners of the world. But Dubai treated them like an upcoming transport service. It was no longer asking whether this technology looked exciting. It was asking how quickly it could be launched. The practical promise made the story even stronger. Joby said a trip from Dubai International Airport to Palm Jumeirah that could take around 45 minutes by car may take about 12 minutes by air. That gave the idea immediate human value. Suddenly, this was not just about innovation. It was about saving time in one of the world's fastest moving cities. Number 7. Dubai built the ground first. A flying service means very little if there is nowhere for it to land, charge, and move passengers efficiently. That is why November 2024 became such an important moment. Skyport's infrastructure and Dubai's RTA broke ground on the city's first vertiport near Dubai International Airport, turning the air taxi vision into physical infrastructure. This was planned as the first of 4 initial vertiports across Dubai. The early network included Dubai International Airport, Palm Jumeirah, Dubai Downtown, and Dubai Marina. That revealed something important. Dubai was not preparing for a one-off demonstration. It was laying the foundation for a connected urban transport network. And this is where ambition becomes measurable. Announcements can create excitement, but infrastructure creates commitment. Once concrete starts pouring and sites are selected, the future stops feeling theoretical. It starts taking shape in steel, permits, and construction timelines. Number 6. The UAE drew new sky routes. Launching aircraft is only one part of the challenge. The harder part is teaching an entire country how to organize a new layer of movement above its cities. That is why February 2025 mattered so much. The UAE announced that it had begun mapping air corridors for air taxis and cargo drones, while also working on a regulatory framework for both piloted and autonomous vehicles. This moved the story beyond one city and one company. These aerial routes were meant to connect key international airports and major locations across the country, with the framework expected to be defined within about 20 months. That means the UAE was not just thinking about short demo flights over a skyline. It was planning how aircraft, drones, and future autonomous systems could move safely through shared airspace. This is where the AI side of the story starts to feel concrete. Once a country begins designing corridors for both piloted and autonomous flight, the real challenge becomes coordination, routing, timing, safety logic, and control. The race was no longer only about who had an aircraft ready. It was about who could structure the sky itself. Number 5. Abu Dhabi took it to the sky. In July 2025, the regional race expanded in a visible way. Archer Aviation announced that its midnight eVTOL aircraft had flown at Al Bateen Executive Airport in Abu Dhabi, marking a key step in its planned commercial deployment in the UAE. More importantly, these were not just symbolic flights. They were designed to test how the aircraft performed under real UAE conditions, including heat, humidity, and dust. That made Abu Dhabi's role different from a simple showcase location. Gulf weather can be tough on aircraft systems, and testing in those conditions gives engineers the kind of performance data that glossy presentations cannot provide. It showed that Abu Dhabi was becoming a serious proving ground for the next phase of urban air mobility. Archer also described Abu Dhabi as its first launch edition market, aimed at establishing air taxi services in the Emirate. That gave the moment added weight. The Gulf race was no longer centered on Dubai alone. Another city had stepped forward, and the competition was beginning to spread across the region in a much more serious way. Number 4. Abu Dhabi built the ecosystem. A successful flight can prove that an aircraft works, but an industry needs much more than that. Abu Dhabi has been building that larger foundation through Savvy, the smart and autonomous vehicles industry cluster launched in October 2023 by ADIO and the Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development. Savvy was designed to support smart mobility across air, land, and sea. That includes testing, certification support, regulatory guidance, manufacturing support, and access to specialized test zones. In simple terms, Abu Dhabi was not just making room for aircraft to fly. It was making room for companies, engineers, regulators, and infrastructure partners to grow around them. That is what gives Abu Dhabi a different kind of strength in this race. Dubai pushed the commercial launch story forward. Abu Dhabi started shaping the environment that could help the wider industry live there long term. And in a race like this, the place that hosts the ecosystem can become just as powerful as the place that makes the first big headline. Number 3. Saudi Arabia made it a strategy. In January 2024, Saudi Arabia took this competition to a national level. The General Authority of Civil Aviation released its Advanced Air Mobility Strategy and Roadmap, linking the sector directly to Vision 2030 and laying out a broader plan that included economic opportunity, regulation, use cases, and future deployment. That mattered because it showed a different scale of ambition. Instead of focusing on one launch deal or one test flight, Saudi Arabia presented advanced air mobility as part of a wider effort to modernize transport, logistics, and aviation. The roadmap also pointed to the creation of a pioneering testbed with NEOM, showing that the kingdom was thinking not only about policy, but about where these ideas could be tested in practice. And once a country starts framing this technology in national terms, the race changes again. It becomes less about a single aircraft or a single city, and more about long-term influence. Saudi Arabia was not just trying to join the movement, it was trying to shape how the movement develops. Number 2. NEOM put the vision in the air. In June 2023, Saudi Arabia moved from planning to proof. NEOM and Volocopter announced the successful completion of a series of air taxi test flights, marking the first time an eVTOL aircraft had received special flight authorization and flown in the kingdom. That gave Saudi Arabia something every future mobility program wants: a visible milestone. NEOM was not just serving as a futuristic backdrop. It was being used as a real testing environment for a transport system that could eventually become part of daily life in a place designed around next-generation mobility. The importance of that moment went beyond the aircraft itself. It showed that Saudi Arabia's roadmap was not only a document on paper. A real machine had already risen into Saudi skies, under official authorization, inside one of the most closely watched development projects in the world. Number 1. Now, the race is about the network. By this point, the Gulf story was no longer about who could show off the most impressive aircraft. It had become a contest over who could build the broader network around the technology. In July 2024, Saudi Arabia's GACA signed a cooperation agreement with Lilium to help shape the kingdom's regulatory framework for advanced air mobility. Around the same time, Saudi Group signed for 50 Lilium jets, with options for 50 more. Then, Qatar added another important signal. In November 2025, Qatar's Ministry of Transport announced the successful trial of the country's first urban flight with an unmanned eVTOL that pushed the story beyond electric flight and deeper into autonomy, software control, and the challenge of managing human trust in aircraft that may one day move without a pilot on board. That is why this race is moving faster than anyone expected. One place is launching services. Another is building infrastructure. Another is shaping national strategy. Another is testing autonomous flight. And together, they are not just chasing a new aircraft. They are assembling an entirely new layer of transportation above the Gulf. The Gulf sky is changing faster than most people imagined. What once looked like a futuristic experiment is becoming a real regional race. And this may be only the beginning. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe, and tell us which Gulf project impressed you the most.